My parents, both in their 49s, asked me to vacate the apartment I've been renting from them while I attend college in Massachusetts, so that my older brother William can live there without paying rent. For the past 5 years, this apartment in a condominium has been my home while I pursue my degree at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. My parents bought this property years ago as an investment and had trouble with tenants until I moved in. I've been paying a reduced rent of $9,100 a month, which includes utilities, for a cozy one-bedroom that's been a modest but welcome escape from my strict Amish family upbringing. Growing up, it was clear that William, now 26, was the favoured child. He received the best of everything: praise, gifts, and opportunities, while I was often sidelined. This disparity has only grown with time. Recently, William's tech startup in Boston failed, and he found himself jobless and without a place to live. Instead of asking him to manage on his own, my mother tearfully insisted that I move out and continue paying rent so William could move in rent-free. She argued that the family needed to support him during this tough time, despite my own financial and academic pressures. This situation felt absurd and unfair. I tried to protest, explaining that as a student, I couldn't afford another place with such favourable rent. But my mother laid a guilt trip on me about family obligations. My father, who's never been much support in challenging my mother's decisions, offered no help. Faced with the reality of having to find new housing while subsidising my brother's free stay, I felt not only displaced, but deeply undervalued within my own family. When I reached out to explain my situation, the response I got was a repeated affirmation that your mother has a point, and that sacrifices are necessary for the sake of family. The conversation quickly turned into a lecture on how, as a woman, it is supposedly my duty to prioritise my brother's needs over my own. I was told to be thankful for the chance to support him. At that moment, I felt like shouting. I've been working incredibly hard, balancing a rigorous academic schedule with a part-time job to support myself, all without financial help from my family, thanks to a full scholarship. Yet, there's been no recognition or appreciation for my efforts. Despite not always being perfect or standing firm against my parents' wishes, I've often conceded just to avoid conflict. I've missed important personal events, like my best friend's birthday, for family commitments I didn't care for, simply because I was told that family comes first. I've played the role expected of me more times than I can remember, but this time something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the pressure of upcoming finals, or just exhaustion from always being asked to sacrifice my own needs. I firmly told my parents that I wouldn't move out or financially support my brother William, who has been living quite comfortably without contributing. My declaration might as well have been that I was running away to join the circus, judging by their dramatic reaction. My mother ended the call abruptly, labelling me selfish and ungrateful. My father sent a lengthy text accusing me of abandoning our family and our faith. I've been wrestling with guilt and doubt, feeling like I might be the worst daughter and sister. But is it so unreasonable to reject putting myself in financial jeopardy just to solve my brother's problems? William has always had things handed to him and doesn't seem to understand the value of hard work because he's never had to. Despite his initial successes, his recent failures have not swayed my parents, who continue to favour him and overlook the imbalance in their treatment of us. With the semester about to start, I am searching for affordable housing close to campus, but options are few. Despite the overwhelming guilt, I'm trying to maintain my resolve. I've spent my life feeling secondary to the men in my family, struggling against this ingrained belief that their needs should always come first. So, Reddit, I'm asking, am I wrong for wanting to prioritise my well-being this time? Is it selfish to want to feel like my needs and emotions are valid too? I'm torn between the desire to maintain peace and the urgent need to stand up for myself. I'm tired of feeling inadequate and constantly putting my dreams aside. Isn't it time I considered my own needs? How do I reconcile these feelings without feeling selfish for once wanting to put myself first? Wow, my last post really caught fire. First off, I want to express my gratitude to everyone who took the time to read and respond to my post. Even those who disagreed with me, thank you. It's meaningful to be heard and feel supported. I'd like to clear up a few things that might have confused some of you. Yes, I am Amish, but I no longer live in an Amish community. I left at 17 to pursue higher education, which was a big transition from my Amish schooling. Leaving the community hasn't erased the deep-seated values and expectations I grew up with. To the person who wondered if I can truly be Amish while using technology and attending college, yes, I am. Amish communities can vary widely. Some are more traditional, while others, like mine, have individuals who choose different paths. For those suggesting I should just obey my parents because that's the role of a daughter, or that I should be grateful for any accommodations they provide, please reconsider. I'm not a child. I'm a 26-year-old woman self-financing my education. Owning the apartment I live in doesn't give my parents the right to disrupt my life according to their whims. To the person who said it's a woman's honour to make sacrifices for the men in her life, let me clarify that we're not in the 1000s anymore. Women's aspirations and goals are just as valid as men's. I refuse to sideline my own life for my brother's convenience. It's interesting to note the double standards at play here. If I were in my brother William's situation, needing a place to stay, the response from my parents would likely be for me to sort it out myself. Yet, because he's the one in need, I'm expected to accommodate. Some of you asked why I even maintain a relationship with my parents if they're so controlling. Cutting ties with family isn't simple. They are still my parents, and I love them, even though we sometimes clash. I'm hopeful that by asserting my boundaries, we might evolve to a healthier family dynamic. To those who think I should just accept the situation and say it's no big deal, consider this. Imagine growing up always being told that your desires are less important than those of the men in your family. Imagine finally carving out a space for yourself, only to have your family attempt to hand it over to your already favoured brother. This isn't just about an apartment, it's about the principle. Calling me a spoiled brat for not going out of my way to accommodate my brother is completely unfair. Expecting basic respect and consideration from your family isn't being spoiled, it's reasonable. And it's not bratty to pursue your own dreams and ambitions. I'm not looking for special treatment, just fairness. Some of you have suggested that I simply move out and leave the rent issues to my parents. If only it were that simple. Have you seen the rental market in Massachusetts lately? It's incredibly tough. Even with my scholarship and part-time job, I'm just managing to make ends meet. I really don't want to ask my parents for money, and losing this affordable rent would mean having to crash with friends, which is something I'm not comfortable with. I understand that families are supposed to support each other, but I've always been told to put my needs last, and I'm exhausted by it. So, no, I don't think I'm wrong for refusing to strain myself emotionally and financially for my brother. It's high time William learned to be independent, and it's high time my parents stopped enabling his dependence at my expense. Here's the latest. Despite my objections, my parents went ahead and told William he could move into the apartment. He showed up last weekend with his stuff and has since been staying in my bedroom, leaving me on the couch. I know I said I wouldn't pay if he moved in, but William is here now and I'm worn out from my parents expressing their disappointment in me. They act like I'm overreacting, but I've decided to stand my ground. I'll keep living there and continue paying rent. It's incredibly stressful and uncomfortable, trying to study for finals with William treating the place like a holiday home, leaving his belongings everywhere. It feels like he's on a vacation while I'm struggling just to stay afloat. The most frustrating part? He shows no urgency about finding a job or a new place to live, just lounging around as if he has all the time in the world. He keeps saying he's just trying to figure things out and that I should be more understanding. It's as if he's completely oblivious to the chaos he's causing in my life. He uses up my groceries, helps himself to my toiletries, and even uses my face towel. Meanwhile, my parents are constantly checking in on William to see if he's comfortable, never once asking how I'm managing or if I need any support. It feels like I'm completely invisible to them. Living with William is already a challenge, but things got even worse after a tough day of classes. I came home to find him and a couple of his tech friends in the middle of a noisy brainstorming session. The apartment was a mess, littered with empty pizza boxes and beer cans, while they loudly bounced around ideas for their next big app. They barely glanced up when I walked in, completely indifferent to the mess they'd created. I tried to retreat to the living room, my makeshift bedroom, to dive into my huge pile of homework, but their loud chatter made it impossible to concentrate. After enduring this for 1 hour, my patience ran out. I confronted them, asking if they could keep it down since I had a lot of studying to do. They looked at me as if I was speaking a foreign language. William, completely nonchalant, told me to chill out and hinted that their project could make us rich one day, as if his potential future success excused the current disruption to my life. Unable to study at home, I ended up going to the campus library. When I returned, the party was over, but they had left all the mess behind. I spent the next hour cleaning up their leftovers, frustrated and angry. It's infuriating enough that William feels entitled to my space and my parents' unwavering support, but inviting his rowdy friends over and expecting me to accommodate their disruption is too much. I'm trying to keep my cool and focus on my studies, but incidents like this just show how little William respects me or my boundaries. Something has to change, and soon, before I completely lose it. Every day, it gets harder to stay positive. I'm exhausted from sleeping on an uncomfortable couch, stressed about potentially having to find a new place to live, skipping meals to save money, and watching my grades begin to suffer. I often feel like I'm drowning, unnoticed by those around me. It's as if my life has been completely overturned, and yet I'm expected to carry on with a smile. There are times when I just want to scream, cry, or just run away and never return. However, I remind myself that I need to remain strong. I didn't come all this way to just give up. I keep telling myself that this situation is temporary and that I'll make it through. Things escalated significantly. I reached my breaking point with William's irresponsible behaviour and my parents' endless pampering of him. I was on the verge of asking a friend if I could crash with them. But then, something unexpected happened. William and I had a massive fight one night over his habit of leaving dirty dishes everywhere. I couldn't hold back my emotions anymore. I broke down and told him how drastically his actions were affecting my mental health and my academic focus. For perhaps the first time, he really listened. He seemed genuinely shocked to realise the extent of the stress he was causing me. He had been so caught up in his own issues that he hadn't considered the impact on me. William and I ended up having a long and sincere conversation about how our parents' favouritism had differently impacted both of us. He confessed that the pressure to be perfect had always weighed heavily on him, making him avoid facing his issues directly. It felt as though a weight had been lifted from both of us as we finally understood each other's perspectives. We hugged it out and resolved to make a fresh start. The following day, William did something unexpected. He called our parents and informed them he would be moving out. He emphasised the need for them to respect my boundaries and even offered to repay the rent for the time he had stayed. I was astonished. I never imagined he would take such a stand for me. Initially, our parents did not take the news well. There were plenty of guilt trips and tears from Mum and silent disapproval from Dad. However, for the first time, William and I stood united. We made it clear that their overt favouritism and neglect of my needs had to end, or they risked losing both of us. It was a tense few weeks, but it seems our message finally got through. They've begun to check in on me as well, not just on William. Dad even apologised for not considering my feelings more. Things aren't perfect, but they are beginning to improve. William has since moved in with some friends and is actively looking for a job. We've been talking more, working on building a genuine sibling relationship free from our parents' influence. It's a slow process, but I'm optimistic. As for me, I am focusing on finishing the semester strong. I passed my finals with flying colours and secured a summer internship. For the first time in a long while, I feel in control of my own life. I'm aware that my family still has much to work on to break old habits and see each other as equals, but I'm proud of the progress we've made and how I've learned to advocate for myself. To everyone who has followed this journey and offered their support, thank you deeply. Your kind words and wise advice have been a lifeline. I hope my story can inspire others facing similar challenges. And to my fellow women, especially those from conservative backgrounds, your voice is important. Your needs are important. You are important. Never let anyone make you feel otherwise. This isn't the end of my journey, but it feels like a new and beautiful beginning.